Hey, I'm Kevin from Q. This episode of the Q and Ask podcast got a motherfrickin' sponsor. Tactical Distributors, you're on fire. They carry all kinds of cool shit, man. I got my fancy Tiger Stripe summer pants here that everybody loves. I skate in those. I go to the club in those, pulling honeys all day. If I actually wore, anything to go in my pool or hot tub, it'd probably be these board shorts. They're also Tiger Stripe. Things like these Ultima boots, the Maritime boot that are awesome. I don't even know what that means, but these are summertime hunting boots, thin sole, like skate shoes. They're lightweight, they breathe, they repel the water. A cool thing about Tactical Distributors, all right, number one, cool motherfuckers. Number two, their return policy, simple, easy. I never know because I got like the fat feet. So this could be a 10.5, could be an 11. I don't know. Order two sizes. I pick one, send it back. It's no trouble. Just get a little label, send it back, cost me no money. TacticalDistributors.com, promo code, I don't know what you call it, whatever code at the end, all right? Unpossible15. Unpossible15 gets you 15% off. TacticalDistributors.com, give them a look. So today, we're here, Adam and I, talking with our good buddy Adam Kraut from the Firearms Policy Coalition. So he's going to tell us about why you need to donate to them, who they're suing and why, how many screwed up gun laws we got, why the ATF maybe is sucking and taking too long to do things. We're going to talk about national parks, foster children, your gun rights, why you need them, why you got to fight for them, and what the bad guys are trying to do to them. Tune in, give us your support. Firearms Policy Coalition. We appreciate what you do. Adam Kraut, you're working with the Firearms Policy Coalition now.
I am.
Yeah. So what is this organization?
So, good question.
No, I don't want the trial lawyer answer. I want the.
No, I'm not going to give you the trial lawyer answer. It's a group of people that view, among other rights, the Second Amendment as a very important right that to protect and to restore. And I use restore as a very purposeful word. We're trying to put the Second Amendment back to where it was and get it back so that people have the right as it was understood at the time of the founding. And we're all very passionate about it.
Okay, so the 1770s, not the 1970s.
Yeah, I was going to ask, where was it and where do you think it is today?
Well, so, that's a very interesting question. And the answer to that question is if you look at the historical understanding of the right, it was certainly an individual right, which is what the Supreme Court said in Heller. That right extended outside of the home, which currently a lot of courts have said, we're not so sure about that. That right extends to common arms and common arms in use for lawful purposes. Mm-hmm. So what we have in front of the table, on the table in front of us here, those would certainly fit that definition, yet there's certain states that believe they can restrict those.
And that's common use in law enforcement and military?
No, just lawful purposes for people like you and I.
Sure.
You don't have to be part of the militia. You don't have to be part of the military. You don't have to be part of law enforcement. And so, we're working, and another one's age-based restrictions, right? So you have all these rights that you come of age at 21 now.
It is interesting that you can be drafted before you can own a gun lawfully.
Right, or carry a gun lawfully.
Drafted to use a gun.
a machine gun.
To get shot
or
shit.
Yeah, or a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
So, we're a bunch of people that feel very strongly about it. And part of the reason FPC exists was because we just weren't happy with the manner in which other groups were going about things. And there was a couple of guys who, they're probably going to hate me for saying this, got drunk one day and said, hey, we can do this better. And we've been doing it ever since.
So a nonprofit to support primarily the Second Amendment.
Yes. And
I want to stop you right here. Let me ask you this.
That's going to happen from time to time.
That's going to happen constantly.
That's fine.
It's the Q podcast, not the Firearms Coalition. Coalition. Whatever you guys are called. It's not your No. What's the belief of the Second Amendment? Like, what right does that give the average citizen?
The right to own any kind of arms that they can afford to own. You want to own a tank? Cool, man. If you can afford it, you should be able to own it.
That's the best answer I've ever gotten from an attorney.
You're welcome. I'll send you my bill.
Thank you.
Adam
you.
Crowder.
All you did was earn your paycheck. Send me a bill. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and I think you're right. We have gotten so far from that understanding of what, our forefathers thought was important. You know, I was having that. My son's tutor just left and told her what we were doing. You guys are coming here, blah, blah, blah. And, just the interesting aspect of that. And it's like, well, what's really important is probably with our forefathers was the First Amendment. And then it's just the guarantee of the First Amendment by the Second Amendment and just that approach. And, oh my God. And I'm sure it's the way it always works. I'm not sure there's any great country like ours that's set up that can ever like burn so bright for a long period of time, because it's just this fucking erosion of things. And, that's where, and I understand, although like I think the bump stock is completely stupid, but I'm glad there was a victory on that recently. But yeah, you should be able to own it. You know,
what is the status of that? Can you get into details?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
So we have our lawsuit, which I'll talk about in a second, and then I think what you're referring to is the lawsuit that was not our lawsuit.
America.
Yes, the GOA lawsuit. So that was pending before the Sixth Circuit on a appeal from a denial of a preliminary injunction. I guess for those listening that aren't familiar, a preliminary injunction is where you go into court.
Stop them from doing this, please.
Yes, immediately, because there's some kind of harm that if you don't stop it, it'll be ongoing, and you can't allow that to happen. So that was actually pending before the court for 470 days. And I know that because we have a guy on our staff who tracks this stuff.
Nice.
So timely, so much for our forefathers saying justice should be swift. And stuff like that.
Yeah, it was a long time.
470 days.
So that court found that the district court was wrong in not enjoining the government from this rule, and enjoined them from the rule. And I honestly, I haven't had a chance to read the opinion yet because I've been so busy with other things. But my understanding from talking to others is that that's in relation to the named plaintiffs in that litigation. So it's certainly not a nationwide injunction where...
Oh, so what you're saying, Mac from Military Arms Channel, he was one of the plaintiffs.
He would be one. Gun Owners of America, I would suspect it may, and I'm not going to say it does, but it may apply to their members as well. They would have to talk to their lawyers about that because I'm not their lawyer.
So this wasn't necessarily just a blanket. The bump stock it's just now okay. There's an injunction for those people who filed the suit.
I believe that is the limit of it. It's certainly not a nationwide injunction, and we're looking at more broadly as just a general legal principle, this idea of nationwide injunctions actually becoming disfavored. The Supreme Court has hinted very strongly that, as much as the Ninth Circuit judges love to enjoin President Trump when he was president, the Supreme Court has certainly indicated that we're not so sure about this whole nationwide thing. So theirs is going back down to the district court, most likely, unless somebody asks the Sixth Circuit.
So they basically push it down to say, you fucked up, review it, and come up with the right answer?
To enter the injunction and then hear this on the merits. So with a preliminary injunction, if you get it, there's really three paths here, right? Either you get it or you don't get it, and you don't get it, and then you appeal that decision to the to the circuit court, which in this case is what happened, right? After the circuit court deals with it, they send it back down to the district court to actually hear the case on the merits itself. So the part of getting a preliminary injunction is this idea that you'll actually prevail on the underlying merits, that there's a good chance you'll do it.
How'd they get it? That it was just too broad? Like, what's the basis of how they got the injunction?
The opinion said that the ATF had exceeded its authority under the Administrative Procedures Act with
imagine that.
Stuff about Chevron deference. And, candidly, if you want me to bore you to death, we could talk about it.
No, thanks. We got it. What Adam's trying to say is don't wake on me, bro. Gotcha.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So that'll go back down to the trial court, the district court, to be heard on the merits, and then that'll likely go back up to the Sixth Circuit. Our case, which was the first one filed in the nation, I do need to plug that. That one went all the way up to the Supreme Court from the denial of our preliminary injunction. We got a really good dissent out of one of the circuit court judges. We went back down to the trial court. We did motions for summary judgment. We ended up losing, which we expected to, and now we're back at the circuit court on the merits this go round. So that just happened.
Yeah, that can be important because, correct me wherever, but, the merits being, okay, well, if you're going to classify this as a machine gun,
Yes.
then, okay, how does ATF define machine gun?
That's what we argued, and part of this whole process, like I said, we got a good dissent from the circuit judge. When we went to the Supreme Court and they declined to hear our petition at the time, we got a statement from Justice Gorsuch about it, and essentially his statement was, because there's no record, since this is on a preliminary injunction and not the merits itself, now is not the right time for us to hear it. But don't mistake that for us not caring and looking at this very closely. So ultimately, will it result in the Supreme Court?
Well, knowing
I don't know.
attorneys and judges, that means, hey, we think it's bullshit, but we don't want to make the call. Let's give them another chance to do it. And never mind the millions of dollars you're going to spend to get there and the time wasted.
It's expensive.
Yeah, God. It's like, I love when, the 1 in 1,000 judge you find with a set of balls.
So
That is not afraid to be the Dateline judge.
we may be in front of one.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Because, I've been in court a couple times myself. Yeah.
There are some judges that are unafraid to make the
There are.
correct call.
Yeah.
And then there's certainly judges that do everything they can to be the ones that aren't the ones who actually made the decision. They just pass it on to whoever.
And especially something as delicate and inflammatory as like firearms at this point.
Yeah.
And, so some of that can depend on where you are. And I'm sure, like everybody tries to cherry pick where they can have these things based on the judges that are involved or
Venue selection.
Yeah.
Very important.
It is,
And sometimes you're just stuck with where you're stuck with because that's where it came out of and you don't have a choice.
And it can, and sometimes you get those very liberal judges and
other times you don't.
Yeah. I was in, every time I've ever been in court, it's, so it's like 3 or 4 times, a couple dozen times. And they always, no matter what it's for, anything, gun related, like whatever. There's always a picture of me holding a gun. It's.
That's inflammatory,
like,
Your Honor.
Fucking shocker. I own a gun company.
Yeah.
But I remember the last one was I'm wearing shorts and flip-flops, and I'm in our factory, and I'm holding the fixed rifle.
I've seen that picture.
Okay. And the judge said, "This is terrifying. You holding an assault rifle."
That's a bolt action.
And I started to say it like my attorney slaps me. It's like I just had to listen to it, but the fucking ignorance and arrogance of a judge to say a bunch of stupid shit like that. And it's just like, he's obviously incredibly liberal, anti-gun.
Yeah.
And
Trying to make friends or keep friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I can imagine venue and just timing. Like
Sometimes that is it.
Who's on the bench at the time?
Yeah.
I think in my lawsuit with Remington, when they owed me a couple bucks and we went to court, my agreement with them was it would be in, the Southern District of New York, which is generally very good for them because they're able to paint the picture generally very liberal, anti-gun. But, that judge, Catherine Forrest, most brilliant person I've ever encountered, she did not give a shit. It was just the merits of the case. And she would weed through that and tell them to shut up every time they'd try to paint this picture. It's like you're a gun company trying to blame, accuse one of your employees of being a gun nut. Like, shut up. It's good when you get a good judge.
It is good.
Yeah. So bump stock, we got the update on that. What other noteworthy
What about them arm braces, yo? Arm braces, yo. That's what Adam's trying to say.
Oh, sure.
Sure. Yeah, we could talk about arm braces.
That's what I meant.
We also do have an assault weapons case in California as well.
California.
Hey, it's in front of it's in front of a good judge.
Yeah, I want to hear about that because that's a huge
go with
gun
that,
market
then.
that is untapped. because of-
People don't realize. Let's say this.
Yeah.
Texas, great place, huge place, tons of gun buyers there, is dwarfed by gun purchases in California, the biggest gun market in the entire nation. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just think for that exact reason, I want to hear what you have to say
So
more than braces, because I'm pretty familiar what's happening with braces.
I was
at this
being
point.
a smart ass. You're right. So, what's going on in California? I don't even know.
So we've got a few things. So the first one is our assault weapons case that was actually heard relatively recently, and we're expecting a decision. That is before Judge Benitez, and you guys may have heard the name because he's the judge who enjoined California's magazine capacity law. That went up to the Ninth Circuit. So that whole California Freedom Week that you might have heard of, where Californians
No
were
idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
What's the California Magazine? What'd this guy do? Is this Ito? Is this the judge for the OJ case?
No, it's not the judge for the OJ case.
I'm kidding.
So he had to enjoin California's law, which said that you can't have magazines that hold more than 10 rounds.
Yeah.
So that was Freedom Week, where Californians
Enjoined. What does this mean?
stopped the
What's
law
the legal jargon?
stopped the law from being functional while the injunction
So he called
was in place.
bullshit.
He did,
All right,
and
we're going to bring it down to the
Okay.
novice
Yeah,
level.
that's
to where
fine.
everybody
This
can
is
understand.
legal for dummies.
well,
Yeah, that's what we need.
no, I think the listeners are probably smarter than the
No,
dummies
no,
category.
no. Let's not say that. What that law be, yo? That's what we're
I
saying.
want
All
to
right.
know what you're talking about.
Well, so for a week, because of this judge's order, you could buy 30-round magazines in
remember
California.
this.
Yeah, and so they bought a shitload of magazines.
Yeah.
So many
And it
magazines.
only lasted a week.
And then it was it was stayed, which means that the injunction
Yeah.
was no longer working. So the judge said bullshit, and then he said, well, actually, we'll keep this in place while the Ninth Circuit hears this.
So what about the 18 million mags that were purchased in California in that week?
Those are still legal.
Is that
As
the
of
number?
as of
18
right
million?
now, I don't know if
No,
that's the number.
totally
Okay.
made that up.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me though.
It was
I
it was a
mean, it
lot.
has
I
to be
mean,
a
like
lot.
everybody and their mother was sending
That-
magazines.
I mean, we'll look up the numbers and post them on here, but I think it's like California buys like 30% more guns than Texas, which is number one by a long shot. It's like something outrageous. California is the biggest gun market we got.
It's like what we were saying earlier. People want what they can't have.
Right. So talk about, the honey badger in California, right? If we're successful with this assault weapons ban challenge, you guys might be able to send honey badgers to Cali.
It's just what we need, more backlog.
Yeah. Well, so, and then, we also have a number of other lawsuits. We have a lawsuit challenging the handgun roster that's out there, which currently restricts, people from being able to choose what handgun they want to use to defend themselves and their homes.
that's true because I didn't even understand that. Well, I mean, I guess I understood it, but I hadn't thought about it until Talon Sai, who's like a
Yeah, I know
gun
Talon.
oh yeah, cool guy. So he's from your state.
Yeah. He's actually filmed one of the videos that was in, so the assault weapons case, we did a demo video showing that a California compliant AR-15 versus a regular AR-15 on a target at 25 yards piece of steel, there's no discernible difference between shooting the two. And he actually filmed that for us.
Aw.
Yeah, I needed somebody. I called him up, and he said, yeah, sure, I'll meet you at the range. And
that's
so
awesome.
the judge found
Nice
that
guy.
video incredibly helpful. So I guess, Talon, if you're listening, thanks, man.
Oh, that's so cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah. Well, that is great. He's a nice guy.
He's awesome.
What I was going to say is the gun that he did with what's the name of that Glock?
It was
Modification.
Danger Close Armament.
Danger Close Armament. I want
Yeah.
to give him a plug. So the 43X, and he says, "Oh, it's not even on the California roster." I was like, "Oh God, that's so dumb! Like a 10-round 9mm, and like you have to get it certified by them. They make you give them guns."
So they have a list of guns that if you're not from California, you have no idea what it is. There's a roster, which is literally the handguns that are approved for sale to civilians in California. Now, police are special; they can get off roster guns, and they can even
even non-duty, like if you're a cop, you can buy a whatever.
I believe that's correct, and there's been a lot of instances where guys have bought guns that are not on the roster just to resell them, because apparently as a civilian, you can buy an off-roster gun if it's sold secondhand.
Oh, the old Biden loophole.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, the Biden loophole. And then on top of that, they just passed a law recently, which now for every gun that's added to the roster, 3 have to come off. And so when you're thinking,
serious?
so when you're thinking about it, you hear that at first blush, and you're like, "Oh, that's cool! Like guns are coming off the roster. Or they're getting rid of this thing." And then you're like, "Hold on a second! They're actually restricting the number of guns we can
What
purchase
happens
in
when there's only
California."
3
I'm
guns
pretty
left?
good. I'm pretty good at math.
I'm terrible
That's
at math.
smart. Yeah.
That's why I went to law school.
That's
So the handgun
That's-
roster, that's a category of handgun, right?
It's not a
no,
category.
it's just
literally
a list of all the
yeah.
guns, like the NFL draft or whatever. Here's the dudes you can pick.
So
what about a
Glock for? I'll give you an
bolt
example.
action handgun?
Well, that's a good question, right? That's not even on the roster. You'd have to get it approved.
Does it have to be on the roster?
California.
Yeah, it's a handgun.
Going back to Cali.
Yeah. So Glock, for instance, right? They produce Gen 3 still. You know why? because Gen 4s aren't on the roster, nor Gen 5s.
You know, like I said, California, the biggest gun market.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Gen 3 Glock 19. I
Yeah,
love it.
me too.
If
But that's why they still make them, because
Oh my
that's
God.
what they can sell in California.
It's so aggravating. Number one, I'm like upset with California voters. Number two, if I were a billionaire, I think I would donate like $1 million worth of Glocks to California every week.
So here's another one for you, right? One firearm every 30 days. Another California law that we're challenging. As of right now, you can only take possession
That seems like discrimination against the rich. I don't like that.
I mean,
Just be able to buy whatever I want.
it's discrimination against everybody who wants to exercise that right. So, for instance, let's say you buy 2 guns, and you want to take delivery of them. Well, you're coming back in 30 days for that.
That's crazy.
They have background checks on ammunition. On ammunition, there's a whole lot of things.
Oh, they're doing that already.
Yeah, they've been doing it, and there's been a lot
What?
of instances where people get denied on the ammunition, even though they successfully purchased ammunition the week prior or bought a gun.
Bought a gun.
Yeah. 18 to 20 is another category that we're challenging, that we're looking at different things in. So it's, there's a lot of things in California. The group itself, FPC,
Lots of
is,
opportunity because they have a lot of dumbass laws there.
and if anybody's taken note, those dumbass laws spread from California.
That's what I was going to say. Are people using California as an example of what's working, quote,
Oh,
and
yeah,
trying to
I
implement
believe
it
so.
across the country?
Mhm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think California keeps trying to one-up its
Yeah.
prior
What?
stupidity.
Yeah, what about Chicago?
Well,
mean-
yeah, that working well, huh?
A lot of
I don't
deaths.
know.
Unfortunately, that is true.
Well,
There's
Cal-
some statistic about Chicago having more deaths this year than the entire Iraq and Afghanistan war. Like, that's crazy.
No, that's not a gun problem. That's a people and value of
no,
life
100%.
problem.
Yeah. So California sucks. Could be better because of you guys. That's what I'm hearing.
We're
All right,
hoping.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. So what are you guys doing? All right. What's the deal? We give you guys money. What the hell are you doing with it? We're filing lawsuits. We're going after bullshit gun laws. We're going to punch ATF in the face. These bullshit state laws.
That's
what we're doing.
That's pretty much what we're doing. Yeah, I mean that's a very
I can
succinct
get
way
down
of putting
with
it.
that.
Yeah.
I can totally get down with this.
Yeah, so your money, the money that you send us, that individual people send us, even the dudes who are sending $5 a month or whatever, it all goes to the fight in some form or
You
fashion.
living in a mansion?
No.
You got
I'm
a
not.
car nicer than mine?
Definitely not.
What do you drive?
I drive a Subaru Forester because I'm a hippie.
Yeah.
I knew it was that or a Prius. I swear to God, I was going to say Subaru or
He
Prius.
told me that earlier. That's why I asked.
I also wear Birkenstocks and I like tie-dye. So if
Yeah.
anybody's got a problem with
Oh,
it, now's
yeah.
a good time to
Oh,
speak up.
you're all
So
into
Matt-
the dead.
Yeah.
Matt at the shop made him
Matt.
and him
Oh, yeah,
and
Matt.
Pierce in the background over here a tie-dye shirt.
And it was
Yeah.
super
I
rad.
love those. He
That's
made them
why
for
we're-
me for the event this
Yeah,
weekend. I
that's
wore
why we
'em.
were late today. I was waiting for them to dry.
Where are they?
They're in the
in-
car.
in the
Why are you
car.
wearing them?
Because I
Because
suck.
it's still wet.
It's still a little damp.
Oh, he didn't want. Matt's so sweet. We got
Yeah.
the laundry room at the office. He washed
Yeah.
mine and all for me and had them ready for me to
Yeah.
go on my trip last week.
Well, they were
It's so
like,
awesome.
They were 5 minutes out. I'm like, hey, can you make these guys a tie-dye shirt real quick?
What an asshole! I love that you're the asshole now.
That's all right.
Now I'm like, cool. I go in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. They want something hard. I'm like, ask Adam.
Yep.
Adam's in charge.
That's fine.
There you go. Somebody's got to be the
I know.
boss.
I like this better.
Yeah, it's probably.
I like being the grandparent better than the parent.
Oh, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Okay, so we're
So that's what your money goes to.
kicking ass,
speaking
taking
of-
names.
speaking
Well,
of
how much
money
of my
going-
money goes through
To which part?
to like, suing these assholes?
So-
a good chunk of it because
A
we
good
need to
chunk?
pay lawyers.
What-
Yeah.
What is it? So is basically all the money going to pay the attorneys?
Not-
Like, what else is there? We
I-
got
I would be-
marketing.
I would be remiss if I said all of it did because that certainly wouldn't be true. We do have staff that deals with the social media aspect of things, getting people informed on stuff.
So we have a marketing.
we have a
budget.
marketing budget.
That's
uh,
important.
You know,
Well, with that right now, okay, because you guys, so Adam donated you guys a Honey Badger pistol,
Mhm.
and that ends today. So by the
does.
time this comes out, it'll be a
Today
couple
is
weeks.
It'll
March
be-
31st.
it'll be-
Today's
yeah.
the last day, so
All
talking
right.
about it now doesn't help. But how much do we raise
Yeah,
with that?
Pierce. How much? You looking at it? Is it over? Is this auction over? Huh?
Still going.
Still going? What's the last count?
113,000.
Yes.
113,000.
A
So
one Honey Badger pistol. So we
Right.
donated. You guys put it up. You sell some raffle tickets, I guess.
Yeah, how does tell us about the structure? We call it raffle.
No, it's not a
tickets.
raffle.
It's not a
What is it?
raffle.
Not a-
It's,
another
it's
illegal
absolutely
thing.
not a raffle.
We tried to
Okay,
talk about it in the
can't do
last
that.
podcast, and we were butchering it.
So it's not a raffle because
No,
for, to
because
be
it
for it to
can't
be
be a
ra-
raffle,
right?
'cause you
Because
gotta-
it's a small game of chance, and all you need the
God.
licenses and all that.
So
stuff.
what
It's
do
a
we have?
giveaway.
It's a giveaway. That's what I meant
It's
to
a
say.
giveaway.
Forgive my ignorance. I'm not an attorney.
It's okay. I only play one on podcasts.
You
Yeah.
stayed at a Holiday Inn once.
A couple times actually.
All right, so we do a giveaway. So everybody, you donate.
You can donate. Yep, and so
you have an opportunity for a giveaway
mhm.
to
So-
get given away a honey
a
badger.
honey badger. So that ends today, and you
Let
won't be able
Adam
to take
explain
part.
it.
You won't be able to take part in that one.
It's funnier when I do it.
Well, it keeps me out of trouble if he does it. Honestly.
Yeah.
So that money goes towards any number of things, but mainly the legal stuff. And just to give your listeners an idea, and I guess your viewers, if they're watching at home, on average, for a lawsuit at the trial court at the federal level, you're anywhere between 30, 40 grand on average. Just for that. That doesn't include the appeals. That doesn't include any experts that may be involved. By the time we're at the Supreme
Well,
Court.
I view it as a bargain because judging by that, I get proper fucked by my attorneys. If you're listening, we're going to have a meeting this week.
Yeah, we don't also bill by the hour for that. So, by the time we're at the Supreme Court, a lawsuit, depending upon the work that could be done, you could be anywhere but up to $250,000.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time that's invested.
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort. So all this stuff goes directly towards that end goal and that fight. So the honey badger, obviously awesome.
113,000
Did amazing.
so far.
And we still
No,
got,
doing
Hold on.
amazing.
Yeah.
You heard Pierce. It's still going
Still
on.
going.
It's
Yeah.
5:30 p.m. now, so there's still time.
Oh,
So-
yeah. And it
so-
probably ends at Pacific time because they're based in California and
Oh, yeah.
they don't use real world time.
So we got more time.
Yeah, we do.
Well, let's pimp the importance of the honey badger. So on average, my man Pierce said, what did he say the guns usually bring?
20-ish thousand, 30,000, something like that.
20, 30,000.
Mhm.
So 113 so far. Oof.
Yeah. It's good timing too with all the nonsense going on.
Mhm.
Not selling the honey badger short by any means.
Well, if
But-
you are, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So, obviously all of that money is extremely helpful to us to be able to continue to do things. And then you guys have also generously donated one of your other products that
Yeah.
everybody is fiercely trying to acquire, and that being a minifix,
Do
which
tell.
which
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we do
When do we do this?
May 1. I've been informed May 1 will
Well,
be your
I was just
opportunity.
informed too.
That'll be your chance to enter a giveaway to win the minifix that you guys gave us to.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Did he give you a silence or anything?
I don't know. I don't think so,
Well,
and that's okay because I don't know if, depending
You
upon
don't-
where somebody lives, we might not.
giveaways,
We
you
might
get in
not
trouble
be able to.
with that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we certainly don't want to make the boat stickier
That's
for these
why
people.
Adam's a boss,
Can
man.
we do a disclaimer or whatever? Like, if you're in a silencer friendly state, you can win a silencer of your choice.
You would have to talk to the people who've done that because I'm just
Oh,
the
you
dude
guys
who.
have any attorneys? I don't.
No, not me. I'm just the dude who runs legal operations. That
Well-
stuff's way beyond my pay grade.
Let's call that
Sounds-
an option, and then have your people reach out about the details.
We'll have our people reach out about the details. My people
Yeah.
will talk to your people, and then the people will figure out what goes on.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we
today's
should
March
continue this.
31st.
It
We
is.
got-
We're documenting this for a time capsule, obviously, March
of
31st.
course. Yeah, this is going to air probably sometime mid-April, I think. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Air on YouTube.
Yeah.
But
Dude, sweet.
yeah, and then
We'll be internet
so
famous.
May 1st, same deal. You can donate to FPC, maybe win a minifix, maybe a silencer if your people are cool with it.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's awesome.
Well, we greatly appreciate the generosity and support from you guys.
Oh, thank you
It
guys.
means a lot.
We'd like to stay in business, so need you working overtime.
Yeah.
Believe me, we're working overtime.
I do believe
I'll
you.
bet you the minifix brings more than the honey badger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm calling it.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
we'll keep you updated.
Yeah,
You know, the thing is, the honey badger is, God, Call of Duty world famous, but the minifix in the industry, people that know,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if you're right, but I hope
I think
but-
I am.
you're right a lot.
Yeah. So speaking of giveaways and raffles, and for the whole month of April, we're doing the mystery shirt.
mystery shirt. We should do a tie-dye one for Adam.
Maybe.
You know, we it's funny. It's funny when we were at the shop earlier. I think last time I was up here, we had talked about tie dye.
We did.
I think we did, and I told Adam, I said, I'm pretty sure Kevin and I talked about tie dye. This shirt is so cool. Thank you for giving this to me. And yeah, you should totally do tie dye.
I agree.
I was telling Matt when he showed me at the shop, I'm like, there's nobody that wants this. And then Adam, I forgot Adam was coming. I'm like, wait a second. He's going to want
I
that.
don't know what that says
I
about
love
me.
We have
mine.
2 customers, and 2 of them are at this table.
Ivanka loved it, and she's like real snooty about fashion.
Yeah.
I loved it. I felt special. I stood out at the event I was at. There's like 500 people, so it's like easy to say. They don't have to, well, now so many people shave their heads or are bald. You can't just say the bald guy. So it's like the dude in the stupid shirt. And
Yo, that's me. What's up?
I know.
Yeah.
So it worked. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the whole month of April, you can buy a mystery shirt off the website. We'll link to it somewhere. And then you have a chance of winning a prize depending on how well the mystery shirt sells. The more we sell, the bigger the prize. So
Yeah, so I don't know.
so maybe you can give us some legal advice on, is this a raffle?
It's a
or-
giveaway. It's a
a
giveaway.
giveaway.
You heard
It's
it.
totally a giveaway.
Yeah, it's a giveaway.
Well, you
That's
know,
not legal advice, by the way.
No.
Disclaimers. Fine print.
Yeah.
Person speaking quickly.
assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I mean, generally when it goes pretty good, we give away gun, silencer, or whatever.
Yeah, I think last time we gave away a fix with a silencer, which is cool.
You know, when we got this past weekend, when we donated the fix and silencer and the Leupold scope and the special color and the backpack.
Talk about that because you told them off air, but nobody knows what you're talking about.
Oh, I did. So last weekend I went to an auction for Special Operations Care Fund, another charity we support, but very different. So there's gun rights over here and special operations over here. And it's for those guys, and raised $1 million in one night with giveaways, whatever.
That was an auction, I believe.
That
And
auction,
that's also legal.
auction.
Auctions are cool.
So we did that, and so we donated a fix and 6.5, 16-inch silencer. Leupold gave us a Mark V scope. London Bridge donated a backpack, nice backpack, but it's probably only $200-300. I don't know how much that shit is. And it brought $35,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not 113,000, but this is a one night thing, and you have a captive audience
It's
of a
not
few hundred people.
insignificant.
It was huge. So a honey badger and the fix raised $50,000, 100% pass. Like all those guys have day jobs too, and they do this occasionally to the guys that matter. So that was a wonderful thing. And I'm not gonna lie, when it got up in the high 20s, I bet on the gun too. It's like it stalled, and so it's like me and 2 other guys got in a bidding war because I'm like, I want it. Like when I saw it and the whole thing, I'm like, I want that gun, and I don't know, like I did okay this year. Like I'll give back, and it got out of my price range.
I know that's a charity that you've supported a long time, and
Yeah.
I know a couple of other guys in the industry that also are always posting pictures from that event. And not only does it look like a lot of fun, but you guys do an awesome thing with it too, and that's an incredible amount of money.
Yeah, they've done. I mean, it's so amazing. Like our industry friend Dave Kramer, he's from Atlanta, where I'm from, and we're personal friends. But he and a couple guys started that, I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 years ago. And just because he was repping some companies dealing with special operations with uniforms and boots and other things, and he got to know a lot of the guys, and it really just like touched his heart when some of the guys were killed and they had young kids, and he wanted to do something to support, and he got with some of his friends and started the organization. I remember the first event we raised, like, I don't remember, but it was like 50 to 70 grand. And to see him in one night now raise $1 million, and still no one there takes a salary. Like they do it, they all work. Like Griffin, he's one of the board members. He's an attorney, super nice fucking guy, full time
He does
plus
patent
job.
law, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
an IP attorney, and they all have more than full-time jobs and all their spare times devoted to this thing, and they grew it and seeing it. Like I didn't go last year, and just seeing the growth in 2 years from how many people were there, and they had 54 guys from special operations. 30 of them had their wives or girlfriends with them, and they were all honored, and tons of stuff was given away. I mean, the very first thing that was given away was a custom 1911, and it really sucks that always the first item in an auction seems like it's a bargain. You know, that's the thing to buy. And it brought $18,000, which is a lot of money, but this is a $10,000 gun if you order it from the place, and it's a year to get, years to get it. And it brought $18,000. Had it been later in the night, probably would have brought like $50,000. But the dude, seeing generosity from people, he bought the gun, goes up there, gets the microphone, and calls one. So a guy that works for Geisley.
Okay.
So in your neck of the woods,
Yeah.
He's a former special operations guy that we're all friends with. He calls him up the front. He was there and handed him the pistol. So like the guy bought the pistol, $18,000, donated it to one of the guys that was there. It was incredible. So great event.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a great organization, great event. So raising money on, that side of things, but fighting for our rights now. I mean, it's important.
It's real.
When did so when did Firearms Policy Coalition get started?
2014. In the grand scheme of things, we're a very young organization.
Young bucks.
Very young.
What prompted somebody to start it?
Alcohol.
Yeah, okay.
It was one of those things, kind of like David Kramer, except he doesn't drink. Like, we should do something, and they actually stood up and did it.
Yeah, I mean, I say that half tongue in cheek, but it was a group of guys that were not happy with the way things were being done, and they said, we think we can do it better. And so since then, the idea was born. And they've been after it ever since.
Is there a fear with the different organizations, whether it be Gun Owners of America or whoever, that it's kind of a Ross Perot sort of effect, like you're going to divide things up too much?
No, I don't think so. So, I mean, our organization is specifically right now, and has been for some time, interested and focused on litigation. Now, we work with Second Amendment Foundation very closely on a lot of things, where if you look at any number of the current lawsuits, they're on there too.
Yeah.
We filed a lawsuit recently in the state of New Jersey challenging their pistol purchase permits and their FID, so the card you need to get in order to buy guns
And
there.
New Jersey, what a clusterfuck.
Yeah, so that one, there's three prominent states groups there. You have the NRA affiliate, and then you have two others there. I called them all up and said, hey, I'm doing this. We're bringing SAF along. SAF wants to join this. I want all three of you to join us as well, so that we can show that we can, in fact, work together and get things done. And they all, after some conversation, said, yeah, we're in. And so we just filed that lawsuit recently. So I'm not so sure that there's concern about the Ross Perot effect. We're damn good at what we do, if I do say so myself, and we like to believe that people see that.
So you don't think it's creating like some sort of blurred or lack of clarity, and you guys are just focused on the lawsuits, which I appreciate, because it's great to have the political side of things, but taking action. Because, I know a lot of these municipalities or maybe states, like holding them accountable, it's real easy to try to get, if you're a politician, try to get something stupid passed. But when you're going to be, your feet are held to the fire and you got to answer to it. That's maybe
the
best.
idea.
Yeah, that's kind of best case. So,
sure. And so, the way I would pitch it out there is, we do work, and the way we've always kind of run things has been, if you like what we're doing, support us. And if you don't like what we're doing, hopefully we'll get there one day. And it seemed to have, as of right now, it's working. People have been incredibly supportive.
You're so nice.
Well, it's true. We believe in what we do. We hope that others believe in what we do. Obviously, I can't tell people, go donate, and if you don't, I guess I could tell you all these awful things will happen. But we like to show people through results that, hey, giving us money, your money's going to a good thing.
At some point, and we're probably past the point, like you got to initiate a fight. That's what a lawsuit is.
Well, that's part of our,
yeah. I think there are organizations where the leadership has really been in power, since you were born, like not even an exaggeration. And maybe that's okay sometimes, but we've let a lot of stuff slip. Since and including Reagan.
Yeah,
and that's unfortunate, and it's clearly, I don't think, going to stop without some of this happening. So I'm super excited about the lawsuits.
So we have a plan, right? This isn't all just also this idea of things being hodgepodge, right? There's obviously opportunistic things where somebody either comes to us or an opportunity arises and we go and we take it. But there is a strategic plan behind our litigation, and we've set it forth a an outlook that we're looking at. We have certain goals we want to meet and ways to change the legal landscape. Right now, for instance, we've got 2 petitions for certiorari in front of the Supreme Court. So we're asking the Supreme Court, will you please hear this case? Those 2 cases actually started when I was not at FPC. I was trial counsel on both those cases, oddly enough, and they're about prohibited persons. So there was a woman who was pled guilty to falsifying a tax return, federal felony. There's an individual who's convicted in Pennsylvania of a state law misdemeanor that's punishable by more than 2 years imprisonment. That triggers the federal prohibition. So both of these were nonviolent offenses, and the Supreme Court in Heller, there's language that plagues everybody because the lower courts have just kind of said, well, Heller said this, and it's essentially that Heller said there's this presumptively lawful bar on felons. There's this presumptively lawful bar on this and that.
Yeah, I mean, I think once the domestic violence stuff came about, and then they began to cast such a wide net with what falls under domestic violence, and that automatically makes you prohibited. And so then we see things like, was there violence involved in these crimes stuff? Yeah, I mean, you have to do this because
part of these are nonviolent offenses.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, when you have something that falls under domestic violence and there's no violence,
oh, that's also
it makes no fucking sense. Or like Martha Stewart not being able to own a gun now, that seems ridiculous.
Well, so I mean, we're looking at this, the Supreme Court in Heller said, we're not going to expound on all the history that's required here because this is a historical analysis. The Supreme Court in Heller said that when we look at the Second Amendment, the way to interpret it is text as informed by history and tradition. So we look at the history and tradition of our country and we see that, well, like, first of all, taxes weren't a thing till the early 1900s, right? And then on top of that, the Founding Fathers certainly wouldn't have prohibited this kind of person. And all of the research that is shown, and we have original research to FPC through our constitutional scholars that we have on staff, that the typical understanding at the time was that if the person was violent, there may have been the ability to dispossess them for life from that. And even then, it's not so clear because you had, I think it was Shays Rebellion. Those people were prohibited for a period of 3 years.
Well, let's stop there. When did there become a differentiation between crime, like a felon? So what's that? A minimum of more than 1 year in prison?
So, well, I mean, we could take a deep dive into this. The general
we don't
overview
have to take a deep dive, but when did that become a thing? Like when did the term felon become a thing?
Well, you had felons at common law, which was judge-made law, and then you have statutory law. So the statutory law would be, like Congress, for instance, defining what a term is. So
so when did that happen?
So in this instance, the first federal firearms law that defined that, I believe, was 1938. It was the Federal Firearms Act.
165 years
after the founding, yes. And then you get to 68, you get the Gun Control Act, and you get 922G1, which is, according to FBI, where most people are prohibited.
Okay, so what are people, let's say, constitutional scholars, what do they believe? Yeah, what did the Founding Fathers think with, because myself personally, without knowing anything, is I believe if you're a felon, that means, so you were arrested, convicted, let's say presumably served your time, you're released, you should be able to own a gun. Like, why can't you, because you committed a felony, no matter what kind it was, if we believe, violent or not, that you served your time, and whether you believe in rehabilitation or it's just punitive, and you're released, why should you not be able to protect your life or the lives of your family or loved ones? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. I think so what, you're a felon. You went to prison, you served your sentence, we agree as a society to release you, but now you can't protect your life?
Sure. So the research would indicate that, again, if it was a violent offense, there was a high likelihood that the Founding Fathers would have said, it's probably likely that it would be okay to dispossess you for the rest of your life. Yeah. Now, having said that, there are some exceptions. Shays Rebellion was one where it was this tendency towards violence, overthrow of the government, right? Government clearly doesn't want that to happen, but these people were dispossessed for a period of time, and then they were allowed to have their firearms returned. In some instances, swearing allegiance would be enough to allow you to have the right restored. So the big picture is that a lot of what we call felons today weren't even a thought back then. Here's an example for you, right?
Tax crimes.
Yeah.
Like
So
that
here's a wild one, right? In the state of New Jersey, if you go to the grocery store, you open up a bottle of ketchup, you stick it back on the shelf, you've just committed a felony. That's enough to lose your gun rights forever.
And that's so
wild,
dumb.
Right? Yeah, it is dumb.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And there is no avenue for people who they want to talk about loopholes. That's kind of a loophole, but in the other direction.
There is no
what's
avenue.
their avenue to get their rights restored?
So you used to have federal firearms restoration, which is still codified in the law. And since the early 90s, Congress has said, ATF, you can't use any of the money we appropriate to you to conduct these determinations. So that avenue is foreclosed. You can get a pardon. So depending upon whether it's a state law crime or it's a federal crime, state law, you have a much better shot. But a lot of those, state of Florida, I think, is running 10 years before you can get in front of the governor. So you're at what? Maybe two. You potentially could be at two different governors from the time you started, depending upon how elections go. Presidential pardon, good luck. And then you have as applied challenges in federal court. So the two cases that we have in front of the Supreme Court are exactly that. And depending upon what circuit you live in or what state, namely that goes to the circuit courts, there are, I believe, 3 circuits that have said as applied challenges, you can do them. There are 3 circuits that said, we think you can do them, but you people are not part of that. And I think there's 4 that have just outright said can't even bring them. So we're hoping that the Supreme Court will weigh on this for a number of reasons. One, it would give the court the opportunity to clarify to the lower courts what tests should be applied to Second Amendment cases. Right now, a lot of courts are using this 2-step process, like does it impinge the right? And then if it does, what level of scrutiny applies? And they all say, well, it's intermediate scrutiny unless it's inside the home, in which case it's a higher bar. So intermediate scrutiny, for those who have no idea what it is, essentially is the middle of the road test. And a lot of courts have just watered it down to the point where the government, doesn't really have to go over a high bar to say.
I mean, I feel like you've done enough. I've just learned so much, and hopefully anyone watching or listening, there is so much bullshit. And even if you think, I don't need to push or contribute or spend any of my dollars because I'm never going to do anything stupid with a gun, the fucking ketchup. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Like, just the bullshit laws. And if your state doesn't have them right now, doesn't mean they won't 2 weeks from now or 2 years or 5 years.
Everybody's a felon.
Fighting it. But I think the step is, and I've learned from my own experience, you start holding the government accountable and people have to start answering for dumb shit they do. It slows it down at a government or even your local municipality. Even with my stuff here, like, the chief of police, he had to resign. So did the prosecutor. Like, don't, just because, you were appointed or elected doesn't mean, that you can just rain down whatever justice you think is correct.
Right.
And everybody is held accountable. But I think it's an important thing. Like, I had no idea of some of this bullshit that states were doing to prohibit people from owning firearms.
Well, and we're just talking about federal law. That doesn't even get into state law, which states have their own criteria for which. Here's one. Here's
California.
Yeah. Well, here's one from California, a case that we actually have there. Right. We have a couple individuals who were convicted of crimes in other states that prohibited them. They went and got state relief. So the state said that, you know what, you're good. They moved to California. They attempted to buy a gun in California, and they got denied. And California said,
there's no way even in the next check, it's like hard to get anything undone once it's done.
This is California saying, our law says if you were convicted, and they're just reading it as you were convicted. So it doesn't matter you got relief or that you even got a pardon. They're just saying our law says you were convicted, game over.
Oh, it's such bullshit, because you being an attorney, like, what's a pardon mean to you?
So a pardon means that you've been forgiven for your crime and that your rights from that are restored unless the pardon explicitly says that, we're not giving you back your firearms rights, which is a thing, by the way. There are some that do specifically cut that out.
States. Okay, so we talked about California and New Jersey, the usual suspects.
Some of them.
Of stupid states.
Yes.
Yeah. What are some of the... some of the states that people think are so free? Like, it could be New Hampshire, live free or die, Texas. What are some of the states that people might not even know they live in have ridiculous laws that need to be
Florida, the gunshine state, right?
Yeah. Florida's number 2 after 3 after California, Texas, Florida for firearm purchase.
Yeah. Well, go look at some of the laws in Florida. Florida Open Carry, for instance, and there's a great organization down there, Florida Carry, that's doing a lot of work at the state level that we are working with on some stuff. They currently, they have a law that prevents 18 to 20-year-olds from purchasing certain firearms, like the honey badger.
So even though federal law, 18 to 21, they can purchase rifles. In Florida, some of those are restricted.
Some of those are restricted, and they're not the only state to do it.
Well, what's the reasoning and the criteria, and how do they decide?
Well, that legislation happened, of course, after the unfortunate incident at the Marjorie Stoneman High School. The tragedy that occurred there, and the legislature reacted with a knee-jerk reaction saying we just need to restrict these from this age group. But they also, if you look at the law...
What were those? Well, and I don't know, this isn't rehearsed or even a setup, but and I know I have no idea the answer. You probably do. Were those guns obtained legally by the shooter?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that. I honestly don't remember. But what I can tell you,
Adam?
No.
What I can tell you is if you look at the way they worded the law, they did put some exceptions into it. So if you're a member of the armed forces, if you're a member of the police department, so they created all these carve-outs. There's a general restriction on the age group, but some people are exempt from it. And so the question is, well, does the state actually have a viable interest in this if they're going to say, well, you can have it, but you can't, and you maybe.
That seems like a violation of the Second Amendment.
The to me, knee-jerk reactions should be a violation of our Constitution. I'm so sick of them because you can never undo it.
Right.
We're dealing with silencers right now. 1934. So what the hell is that? 80 years ago, and we're still dealing with that bullshit.
The Patriot Act's another one that comes to mind.
Thanks, Bush.
Yeah. I mean, knee-jerk reactions create bad law. And, in some contexts, does something need to be done? And I'm not saying this in relation to guns, but more broadly, possibly. But it seems like every time an incident happens in general terms, and then the legislature's quick to act on it, it's never well thought out. There's always bad things that come of it.
To me, I think the idea, a nation, anywhere, but a nation of our size, we're going to have tragedy. Like, shit happens. And the idea that we need to react with law or legislation or something every fucking time it happens is stupid. Like, shit happens. Shit happens to good people. Like, there's going to be crazy people. Just going to happen.
Well, and so now, not only on top of the legislature taking action on certain things, we now see, and I mean, there are groups that are looking at things and saying, well, those aren't restricted enough. And now they're taking action in the courts to try to restrict Second Amendment rights. They're trying to force the government to enter into rulemaking to restrict certain things, to redefine things. And so the one thing I would say is that, while we're obviously out here pounding the pavement trying to restore the right, there are groups that are actively trying to restrict that right, not just through lobbying people to pass laws, but they're now headed to the courts to try to do it. There's lawsuits. There's a lawsuit in Philadelphia where they sued the state assembly. And it's like claiming constitutional violations and that, preemption, this idea that the state law controls the field and that a local municipality can't pass an ordinance that goes against that. They're saying, well, that's violating people's rights. And the whole idea behind preemption is so that there's a standard that's the same across the state. So you're not in city A and it's fine here, and then you go through to city B and it's bad, and city C, maybe part of it's bad.
It's difficult, like where we live here. I mean, we're probably 6 miles from Massachusetts and probably 10 miles. Yeah, and 10 miles from Maine.
And I bet you probably potentially could unknowingly drive across that line and back in real quick. The road may even wind that way.
I mean, even when you look at the map, there's parts of New Hampshire that dip down into Massachusetts, and God, you can't have anything there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of different angles at play, and unfortunately, it requires a lot of attention.
Yeah, I don't know. You just scared me in this podcast. Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news.
This is probably our most serious podcast.
Well, we can be more jovial.
All right.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah, let's hear them.
I'll do the serious question first, just to get it over with. What law in New Jersey are they breaking with the ketchup?
I would have to go look. I don't know what the law is exactly. The judge in the woman that's up at the Supreme Court, the tax one, the judge who wrote the dissent in the Third Circuit opinion listed a few laws that would put you into this category of prohibited persons. And that was one of the ones he found. And his point was essentially, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it is, in case there was any question about that.
Yeah, it seems crazy.
So I can get you the site for it if you really want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
What's number 2?
So my second question is, what kind of success have you had recently? I saw some stuff on Instagram about concealed carry in, was it Georgia or something? Maybe I'm throwing some shit out there that doesn't make sense. But I can look on Instagram real quick if you want me to. But what are some success stories you guys have had that are kind of proof of, all these donations are going towards something?
Sure. So we just had a settlement agreement that we entered into with the state of California in a case. And so I'll preface this with saying that nobody at FPC thinks registration is a good thing, nor do we want it to exist. And so I will just say that we are bookending this case with Miller, the challenge to the assault weapons ban in California. However, when the California DOJ implemented a new law, the legislature rather implemented a new law that said all these bullet button guns that were previously compliant are now assault weapons and they need to be registered.
Okay, so the bullet button being the magazine release AR thing where you have to use a bullet to...
Yes.
Okay.
So they said that those are now assault weapons and they need to be registered. And so they gave people time to register them.
Did they define assault weapon?
Yes.
Okay.
They did, and they said that those were now included, and so they allowed people to register them, but through their poorly designed system, people who were actually trying to comply with the law so they could avoid criminal prosecution were unable to access the system and register them in that window. So we brought a lawsuit saying that, like, hey, your shit's broken. These people tried to comply. They were unable to, and now...
Johnny Cochran, your attorney.
And now...
your shit's broken.
And now these people are all at risk of prosecution. So the state settled with us on that. They're actually going to reopen the registration period for it. They're going to publish notice ahead of time. I think it's for 120 days, then a 90-day registration period. If the gun is in custody of the police and it could have been registered, and this is for guns that were in people's possession that could have been registered during that time period, and people who tried to do it, so if the gun was confiscated and you meet all these criteria, that comes out. There's going to be a stay on criminal prosecution of people for a period of time. So again, this is all being bookended with
bless their hearts.
With we're aiming to strike down the assault weapons ban as a whole in California. So don't mistake this for us saying yay registration, because that's not the case at all. Just simply like these people tried to comply with the law, they were unable to do so. So that's one.
Wait, the most important question with that, since you reached a settlement with the state of California, was did my man Adam Kraut get some attorney's fees out of all this? That's what I want to know.
So your man Adam Kraut wasn't part of the litigation as far as attorneys on it, but we did. They owe us money.
Yes. Oh, I love when I get attorney's fees.
Cha-ching.
Oh, fuck the man.
That's right.
Love that. Yes.
And it was especially great because Xavier Becerra was still the AG when we announced that the settlement agreement happened before he was confirmed to his new position that he's wholly unqualified to. Something about healthcare, federal government. Doesn't belong there. So that's one. We had 2 lawsuits in the state of Pennsylvania. So one's still ongoing, although I think that might be resolved shortly. I take that back. So one's complete. They were dealing with COVID closures for the issuances of carry permits in Pennsylvania. And so everybody's thinking, well, why does this matter? So the real quick breakdown is, in Pennsylvania, generally speaking, open carry is lawful without a permit. The exception to that always is the state of Philadelphia. However, Pennsylvania has been under state of emergency.
State of Philadelphia?
I'm sorry, the city of Philadelphia. Okay. I might be just totally losing words.
Okay.
So
strong water.
Yeah, that Poland Spring. So the exception to that generally is the city of Philadelphia, where you need a license to carry to open carry, and certainly to concealed carry. However, Pennsylvania's been under state of emergency since 2018 due to the opioid crisis, and then later on COVID. And
it's just like domestic violence or all this other stuff. Throw shit under there.
Right.
opioid crisis.
Yes.
So Philadelphia, state of emergency.
Well, the whole state. And so in order
Oh.
to carry a firearm anywhere in the state, openly or concealed, you need a license to carry. So when these institutions shut down and wouldn't issue licenses, people couldn't exercise their right to bear arms outside the home. So we sued the county of Allegheny, which is by Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And we reached a settlement agreement with them. And most recently, we just filed a motion with the court for entry of judgment against the city of Philadelphia, who we also sued for this. And the city of Philadelphia was particularly egregious because they shut down for a 4-month period at the beginning of COVID, just totally blanket shut down. Then they reopened and did an appointment-only basis where appointments were going way out in time. So we're waiting for the court to approve that. It should be entered on the docket. We need the judge to sign the order, but that one should be wrapping up. So there's another one where that lawsuit we put together over a weekend.
Nice.
We talked to some people and we worked all weekend to get it done, and we filed that Monday. So those are a couple of more recent examples that come to mind. I'm trying to think of some other things. We've had some success with pre-litigation letters as far as telling people like, hey, don't do this or we will sue you, and they've gone, okay, we're not going to do that. We
I don't like
want to
being
get sued. Yeah, nobody likes being sued.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because that is an avenue for government always when they're regulatory or they provide license for things, is they can delay it. And, you have to sue them to motivate them to do their jobs. Do you think, are you involved enough with NFA to know, I tell the story, 20 years ago, Form 3, so dealer to dealer, was a process. The transfer took 2 months or 30 days, and a Form 4 took 60 days. Now we're at, 10 months to a year, 9 months to a year?
Yeah, something like that.
And, and back then, when I'm talking about, it was all on like microfiche. So you sent your form in, the ATF examiner in D.C. at the time had to go microfiche, look it up, and then go prove it, and then file for it. It was a lot of work. And now it's all on computerized.
They're getting there, yeah, the e-forms. I think they said e-form 4s were coming relatively soon.
But why is it taking so long now? Why? I mean, and I know there's 10 times more silencers on the market than there were 10 years ago, but is it really a volume, or you think we're just being choked by the government? They're just, purposely delaying things to prohibit people from, deterring people from wanting to buy Class 3
Like a
items.
secret waiting period or something.
Yeah.
I mean, just make it prohibitively long to where people aren't going to do it.
So that's a fair question. Candidly,
I
I
think
don't know the actual answer. I think if you look at statistics that the NFA branch does release, and you look at the volume that has coming in there, it certainly has increased exponentially over the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years.
It seems like computers could help with
It does seem
paperwork.
like that, and I think that's why they are moving towards the e-form stuff. The other problem that has more recently arisen, which is a one that's particularly unfortunate, is that people who are still using entities like trusts, where they're submitting fingerprints and photographs for all the responsible persons on the trust, in those instances, for those that don't know, ATF kicks all the background checks over to FBI, so they ship all that to FBI. So if FBI comes back and says, well, we don't know the status of this person, ATF will come back and say, no action or denied, and here's why. Like, FBI couldn't reach the determination on what my status was, but you Kevin, were okay, and you, Adam, were okay.
How would they not be able to?
Well, it's the government. They screw stuff up all the time. So the point being that, you get this form back and you go, okay, well, you call ATF and say, what do I need to do about this? And they say, well, you need to talk to FBI. So you call FBI, and FBI says, no, you need to talk to ATF.
They have this process where you file this thing, you wait 2 years.
Yeah, the UPIN stuff, yes. And what FBI will actually tell you is you need to talk to ATF, and ATF says, well, we don't do the background checks. And FBI says, well, this isn't our problem. So now people are stuck in this place of, caught in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a guy online a couple days ago, and he waited like 12 months for a silencer, and it came back denied. And he had no idea why. And people in the comments section are like, do you have other people on your trust? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, you might want to talk to those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and if they
or
are,
you have a name
prohibited.
like Adam Johnson, where there's
no
like
kidding.
8,000 felons in America that are named Adam Johnson.
Yeah, I'm not one of them.
You get delayed a lot.
So I want to go back to the thing that I said that was inaccurate about Georgia. just so people
Oh,
know
you
what the hell
found
I'm
it?
talking- Yeah, it
On all
was. It was on
Google.
you guys' Instagram account at Gun Policy.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for the
You
plug.
guys still
Yeah.
have a Instagram
We
account.
do.
It's Gun
Yeah.
Policy.
Yes.
Gun Policy.
They haven't deactivated you guys yet?
Not to my
You
knowledge.
guys post a lot.
We
They're-
do.
They're
I just had to scroll through.
fucking
You guys posted
slipping.
1 hour. Every hour today, you guys have posted basically something.
Wow.
It's
Hey,
crazy.
guys at the team, you're doing awesome. I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll all be proud
Shout
of you.
out to the Gun Policy marketing team.
Yeah,
Well,
killing it.
I mean, something's going good if you guys aren't deactivated like we were.
Yeah.
Oh,
And they're
hopefully
getting-
we stay that way.
You guys get traction, which is cool. But I guess the thing I was talking about earlier, it says the headline is Georgia Senate votes to loosen gun access to limit governor in emergency. I think it was just a headline that I read, and I assumed a bunch of things like people do.
Sure. Yeah, and we're certainly not trying to claim credit for something that the
Sure.
legislature did.
Go ahead.
But yeah, anyway. Speaking of your Instagram, what's up with all the websites?
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like every time you guys post, you have a new website.
So we do, and a
I
lot
know
of...
you're not the marketing guy. but
Yeah, so I have
Wait,
a...
can you get them on the phone?
Can I get on the phone?
Can you get the marketing person on the phone?
I-
Let's straighten this out.
Yes, I will call them right away. So there are a bunch of websites. So the one website that never changes is firearmspolicy.org.
If you don't know, we'll link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, sorry, my brain just totally slipped there. It's firearmspolicy.org.
Yeah.
If you do fpclaw.org, that will actually take you directly to the legal page where we post all the court filings. So if we file a motion, that gets posted there, and it's all in chronological orders from most recent at the top going down. The other one that we actually that I did want to talk about, since you're bringing these up, that we did just post today.
The 2A battle or...
No, it's our fpclegaltracker.org. So what that is a sheet. It's a part of our website that's integrated that shows all the lawsuits that we are directly involved in some fashion. So either the cases that are ours where we're plaintiffs, and the cases that are have plaintiffs where we're funding them, the cases where we're providing amicus support. So all of that you can see in addition to the page that has all the filings. You can just get a visual as to the number of cases. And there's even a cool little bar graph that shows you states and what states and the number of lawsuits in each state. So when people come and say, hey, why aren't you doing it in California? If you actually look, California, I think, has the most number on the bar graph, like pretty heavily. But the other reason for those is just make it easier to find. So to, like, for instance, the bump stock case, rather than trying to so it's just bumpstockcase.com. I think
That's the reason.
Yeah, the one for one of the Supreme Court ones is Holloway2acase.com. So it's really just to try to grab things and use it as a way for people to go, oh, I remember that thing, and it was this, and easier than going to, like fpclaw.org and scrolling. It takes you directly to the case page where it's got all the stuff related to that particular case.
Is there a place somebody can go to see all of these websites?
That I don't know. But really, at the end of the day, all of those websites redirect you to the case page, and all of that stuff is on the fpclaw.org. You can just scroll and find the case you're looking for there.
fpclaw.org.
Yes.
That's the one.
Well, what are some short-term goals for you guys? What are we trying to do, Adam? What's this? What's this?
Freedom.
Get cases to the Supreme Court and get the Supreme Court to hear them. So obviously, we have 2 there. If those get heard, great. But if not, we've got a bunch more in the hopper that are on their way, headed there. So if the court's not inclined to take any of these, we'll have more for them to... Here's a buffet of stuff.
So the goal is to get them to decide stuff, to change law, to change precedents, to change shit.
Yes.
And for you guys to be high profile. We're going to call people out, stop doing stupid shit and infringing on rights.
Right. And our whole goal really is
I like
to be
it.
quick to mobilize too. So for instance, if ATF did something tomorrow, we're trying to be in the place that we can respond immediately.
Well, what helps you to do that? Donation. You guys need funding.
Yeah, so there's actually a couple things. So money is obviously one, right? Money makes the world go round. It helps us do our job.
It hires attorneys.
It
I'll tell you
hires
that
attorneys. Yes, it does. The other thing that isn't talked about a lot that we could use help with is plaintiffs. So a lot of times these lawsuits, they're ones we want to do, and sometimes the ones that are just opportunistic. Somebody walks through the door, we have the person we need to file the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Other times it's we want to address this specific issue. So for instance,
you need a case.
We need a case and we need a person. And so, for instance, right now we're looking for plaintiffs, 18 to 20 carries one where we're looking for plaintiffs in the state of Georgia. And we have some specific criteria, right? In particular, we want at least 3 plaintiffs, and we want one to be be female. And they have to be between 18 and 20. You know, obviously no mental health issues, not prohibited, all that fun stuff, can get access to a handgun. So there's some criteria. But the biggest thing is when we're looking for plaintiffs, helping us find them would be an awesome thing for people to do. Even if you're not in that category of stuff we're looking for, if you happen to know someone.
Well, somebody wants to do this.
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost to them?
Nada.
There's always a cost.
Well, I guess there always technically is a cost. So
time is a cost.
Time. Well, the time
and exposure.
The exposure, I would say, would potentially be the one, right? So, for instance, to go back to the ones that are the Supreme Court, you know, there was a news article. There's a bunch of news articles that have been written about Lisa Falagitar, the woman who's convicted of the tax offense. So that certainly raises her public profile, whether she wants it or not.
Yeah.
It is a consideration, but at the end of the day, you know, we do our best to shield our plaintiffs. One of those things is you don't talk to the media. You send them to us.
Well,
we
that's
deal with
great.
them for you.
Okay, I'm going to try to. You still need the plaintiffs for Georgia 18 to 20.
Yeah, that's one that I think was on our Instagram today that we were looking
That's
for.
where I'm from. I'll try to help you with that today.
And there's a bunch of others. You know, we're gonna get a more succinct, I think, manner in getting that out there other than social media posts. We do email blasts as well. But at the end of the day, as far as like monetary stuff, there's no cost to the individuals, you know.
Well, that's good to. I mean, so okay. So
What's the
so
timeline
you get
on that? On when you need those plaintiffs in Georgia?
As quickly as possible, which is the timeline on all of these cases
Sure.
as far as looking for plaintiffs.
So
And,
this is going to go out in like 2 weeks. Is that too late?
well,
Well,
no, I mean,
I know you'll still do it
Well, I'll
anyway,
make some
but
calls in the morning.
yeah.
yeah, but even as far as this podcast is concerned, I'm just using that as an example. There's
Yeah.
plenty of other.
I mean, that's
cases.
interesting to know. So you do need people who in this capacity involving firearms or 2A, they're being fucked over by the man. And you need these cases, these people to come forward so you can try to change the law.
Yes.
I mean, that's great to hear. And you guys, provide representation in these cases sometimes. Okay. All right. Well, I've got a question. I got the big question for the day.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
What's my website?
The $100 question. What do you think about the honey badger brace scenario when they kicked us in the balls? And
Well, I think, as you probably saw, we told them that we were ready and willing to let them have it in court over it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the question was posed to us. We're not an industry or we're not an organization that represents the industry. We represent the individuals for the individual right. However, there's a lot of overlap there, and this is one of those instances where
that
that
were
aligns
proper fucking 4 million people. Yeah.
right, and that aligns perfectly with everybody else's interests that happen to be in the industry that are utilizing or producing those.
You know, we didn't hear from a single other firearms manufacturer for support. All the money spent on attorneys, all the shit, not a single company, not a single one of them. That was depressing.
I don't doubt that. But we were, as you know, we were ready to go to war over it because we thought it was a battle worth fighting.
Absolutely.
And if they do anything in the future, it's an issue that I believe, I don't think there's really much of a question. It's one that we're willing to go to war on.
Well, thank you. Why did they, from your standpoint, why'd they pick us?
That's a good question.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
That's a
I'm
good
not sure I
question.
know the answer to it. There could be any number of things
Well,
we
what's your
could theorize.
speculation?
Well, I mean, it could be just because you're a smaller scale manufacturer, and let's face it, as we've talked about plenty of times, legal stuff costs money.
Yeah.
And if you can bleed somebody dry over a bunch of stuff, or severely hamper them, could be one way. Could be one reason.
Well, from your standpoint, is it you think? I mean, what are some other possibilities? Is it because the name of our company's Q and QAnon? There's that like
That
conspiracy-
tenuous connection.
or is it
That was
because
bad timing.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
or honey badger because it's in Call of Duty and very popular and children love it? Or I mean,
that I don't
know.
That I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you, but I think
no
everybody.
intel, no inside
No,
information.
nobody tells me anything anymore. As far as industry stuff, I don't get informed on half of it anymore.
All right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, man, I don't know. You got
Well, I guess
anything else?
Closing remarks. You've kind of talked about where people can find you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Anything else you want to throw out there?
Well, I guess the only other thing I would say is kind of what I said, somewhere in the middle of this podcast, I think, is that, go check us out. I know a lot of people ask me what groups should I support, and clearly I always say FPC because I work there, but really the answer to that is what I would tell you is do some research, go look at what the groups are actually doing, not just what word on the street is, but go see where the work's being done and what the results are, and if you like what the group's doing, donate to them. So preferably to FPC, but preferably to FPC. But I would tell you, in all honesty, we've always been of the mindset that we're doing work. We hope that our work is what people want us to be doing, and that they like the results, and then in turn they'll support our organization.
Well, I mean, I honestly hate it, but it's necessary. And lawsuits suck, but I hate regulatory because they have no personal accountability, and all you can do is sue the government, and it sucks. And but it's necessary, and we shouldn't be at that point. And yeah,
if I could be out of a job,
you guys for doing it.
If I could be out of a job in this field, it would be okay, because that means
come
we
work
won.
with us.
Yeah. Well.
Man, I mean,
I'll keep that in mind when we win.
Yeah, it's great, but it's sad. Well, okay, so then the final question, Adam Kraut's paycheck, whatever percentage you give to stuff like this. So, Firearms Policy Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is doing God's work?
Depends what area you're looking at.
Well, where's your paycheck go?
Where's my paycheck go? Honestly, I donate mine to the National Parks Foundation.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I donated there, and there's
Roosevelt would appreciate that.
Yeah, and there's actually another organization.
Is that where the NFA money goes to?
Yeah, that just goes into a black hole somewhere. There's actually another organization that I saw recently that I am going to donate money to, and it deals with foster kids, actually. So I don't know how I stumbled upon it, and I forget the name, which sucks. It's open on my computer. But they essentially said that foster kids, the vast majority of them, when they go from home to home, they bring all their possessions in a trash bag. And so part of what they do is they donate bags to these kids that are real bags, so that they don't have to suffer through that along with all the other stuff. And that, for whatever reason, that really just struck a chord with me.
It puts a lot of shit in perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any kids myself. I have plenty of friends who do. I hear their stories, but growing up without a family and being carted from place to place, and then having all your possessions just in a trash bag, it struck me as something that I've been very blessed with the house I grew up in. And so I am going to donate money to that, because I don't think, it touched me in my heart in a way that it's something I want to do. So
that's awesome. Yeah, for sure.
You're a good human being.
Oh, sometimes.
I'm glad we're friends.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Oh.
Until next time, keep up the good fight, man.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure being up here with you guys and hanging out. Love it.
Yeah, and you guys keep kicking ass, and I'm sure Adam will keep giving you guns to raise millions of dollars because our shit's desirable.
May 1st. Yeah,
May 1, 2021.
Maybe win a minifix.
Minifix.
Minifix.